Welcome you back to the Patrick Netherton Show right here on 1130 The Tiger, 103.3 FM. And we are pleased to welcome in one of our favorite dudes, not just in the golf industry, but in any industry. He could be a car salesman. He could be a vet tech. He could be a janitor at your local school. And we'd still love Grant Boone, the man, the myth, the legend, who's the voice of Amen Corner for the Masters. We welcome him to the show. Grant, my friend, how are you, sir?
Patrick, great to be with you, and thanks for those career suggestions. It's never too late. I think that's my message for all the listeners. It's never too late.
If the whole, being the voice of the LPGA and Abilene Christian and Amen Corner doesn't work out for you, then, there's always other things you could be doing out there.
That's true. I can hold a broom just like I hold a microphone. Why not?
All right. So, obviously you just got done with Augusta, Amen Corner, the whole majesty of the place. Before we get into all of this, let me start by saying you got to take your son, on the trip this time. And I know that's got to mean the world to you, because of how exclusive Augusta is and how difficult it is to get there and be a part of it. How cool was that for you to take a kid who, it's one thing if he's 5, 6, 7 years old, or the kids that we see at the par 3 contests with the golfers who may not be old enough to remember or appreciate it. How cool is it to be able to take your son who also is of the age where he can appreciate what a cool place that is?
Well, I said it on social media, Patrick. It was the best Masters I'd ever attended, and it was only Tuesday. Because of him. And Nick is the only one of my 3 kids who gives a hoot or a hootie about the Masters. But he makes up for the other 2 in how much he loves golf, how much he loves sports. You've seen him at ACU games. He's been coming with me to games since ever since he's old enough, and he sits with me at games at ACU when I call games for the Wildcats, and he would keep stats for me when he was 5 or 6 or 7 years old, and not surprisingly, I guess, became an accountant. Maybe that's not a coincidence, but he's always wanted to go. He loves golf. He hits it 9 miles, and nowadays actually knows what planet it's going to land on, as opposed to when he just swung as hard as he could in case he hit it. And he is just finished his second big tax season with Ernst & Young in Fort Worth. And last year we were able to secure him a ticket, but he was in the middle of a massive project as a first-year guy. And he said, Dad, I think they would let me go because the partner in charge of my team is going on Tuesday.
Right, exactly.
Said, but I just feel like I'd be letting my team down. And I just don't think it's a great look in my first year to bail before we're done. He said, is it the dumbest thing in the world for me to say no? I said, no, I think it's the right thing to do. So he said no. You never know if you're going to get a ticket again, but we were able to secure another ticket. And he met me. He got there Monday morning at 8 a.m. I flew overnight from the LPGA event in Vegas where I was and got there about noon. We connected. We walked around the golf course all day Monday and most of the day Tuesday, and we got to, experience all the sights and sounds and smells and tastes of Augusta National, and it was glorious. And again, it was the best Masters ever, and it hadn't even begun.
Yeah, that's super cool. Now, I'd like to make a suggestion. For those that may or may not know, you have a pretty well-known family, including your uncle, and who happens to share a first name with me. So I'm curious, if you were to say, ask for a credential for Pat Boone, and I were to show up as your maybe newly adopted child, do you think I could get in on the grounds at Augusta to go and experience this as your previously unknown child who happens to share the name with your very famous uncle?
He's like the son that I already have 2 of. And I've got the crow's feet going around the eyes. So, and you're a young looking dude, so I'm sure no one would suspect a thing.
Yeah. It feels foolproof, to be honest with you.
Let's give it. In fact, worst case, we put you in the trunk.
Perfect.
We drive in, and worst thing that could happen is we spend the rest of our lives in jail. I think it's worth it.
Well, Masters jail is really, it's like pimento cheese sandwiches and all of that. Masters jail is nothing.
They slide it under the. Yeah, they throw you in the hole.
Yeah.
Like Shawshank.
Yeah. No, Masters jail is no big deal. All right, speaking of the Masters, you obviously have one of the best seats in the house, although it's technically in a trailer, in an auxiliary parking lot somewhere. But you are on the ground. You get to walk around. You get to see all that. Just kind of give us, the lay person, an idea of what it's like to cover the Masters, being there all week and getting to walk the grounds and having that credential so you get some access that maybe the rest of the lay folk don't. Kind of give us an idea of what that's like.
I tell everybody that the tournament itself, no matter how high your expectations, will always exceed it. And I tell everybody, if you care at all about golf, to do what you can to go. It's expensive. Secondary market the last couple of years has been as high as it's ever been. I think people realize, we're getting close to Tiger's last. Every time he tees it up, and I said this on the broadcast this week, every time he tees it up at Augusta, you think, hey, soak it in, get a good look.
Right.
It could be the last time we see him.
Exactly.
And the fact that the guy made the cut is kind of a miracle in a way. Nick followed him on Monday morning before I got there. He played 9 holes with Will Zalatoris, and Nick said, I'm not sure he makes it to Thursday morning, much less Sunday afternoon, just because he can't walk, with all the injuries. But the access is amazing. When you cover the tournament, we all work for CBS. You have the big CBS show led by Jim Nantz, of course, and Trevor Immelman. And then you have these digital channels. Amen Corner is one of them. I've been doing it for 15 years now. And then you have holes 4, 5, and 6, which I think are only on ESPN. And that's Dave Fleming. It's a terrific play-by-play man in every sport. And Jeff Sluman and Scott Verplank, they do that one. Then you have 15 and 16. Then you have featured groups. So the Masters over the last 15 to 20 years just keeps expanding its coverage. And yet I think people, wish there was even more.
Right. Well, they expand the coverage, but the traditional coverage always starts at 2:00 Central. It's there's
right.
When you watch the U.S. Open or you watch any of the other broadcasts, they're coming on at 10, 11 a.m. and it's go time from there.
U.S. Open and British Open.
British especially.
Literally the first. Even U.S. Open, the first person to tee off, you're seeing that.
Mm-hmm.
And the Masters has always specialized in less is more. They've always left people wanting more, and yet they keep giving them more. It's people can't get enough. Is the point. And I saw the ratings today. You know what? The ratings, okay, they were down X number of percent. I think that speaks as much as anything to just how disenchanted people are with golf in general right now.
Yeah.
As you know, I mean, people kind of are kind of sick of all of the division. And here you've got a guy in Scotty who is, straight out of Central Casting. I mean, just a kind of long, small talk Texan who just speaks with his clubs, and a guy of faith and a guy who just is playing out of this world. But people, people are just kind of tired of all the greed. And I think Scotty's the kind of guy who, he's not bashed the live guys per se.
Right.
But he's taken a very strong pro PGA Tour stand. And I kind of wondered if he could be the hero that we all needed. But I think when you're a guy who just doesn't ever want to call attention to yourself.
Right.
I think the guy has as little of an ego as any major great player as I can remember. Luke Donald, maybe a few years ago when he was number one. But Luke was never as dominant as Scotty is now. He was number one, but not this great. I just think we're in a time right now, and on off topic a touch here, but I think we're in a time in golf that is very tenuous. I think professional golf has really risked its standing in sport, and with Tiger fading, shooting an 82 on as great as it was when he made the cut.
Right.
To watch him limp around and shoot an 82, he looked. He's 48. He looked 58 or more.
Yeah.
On the weekend. I think we're a strange time, and I think professional golf needs to get its act together sooner than later and figure out a way to make this thing work, because you've got a guy playing as good as John Rahm was last year. Yeah, and a lot of these guys have been on good runs, but we're talking 2 years now. I know he's only won 2 majors only. Some guys, Davis Love, Red Couples, they won 1.
Right.
Two's not nothing. But I think you've got a guy who for the last 24 months has dominated the game. He's everything you'd want in an ambassador. And professional golf has kind of squandered it because of what they've done.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to me is, Grant, it's the ratings were down for that Sunday, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that Scheffler was it never felt like he was threatened. Oberg played really well, but he's a kid and we don't really know him. He's not a name we know or kind of understand. Everyone I think loves Max Homa, but he never really got in the mix and threatened. Once we got to about 7, 8, 9, that was when things, Scheffler kind of took control. The problem I see with golf is the division, yes, but I don't feel like there are the magnetic stars that we're used to seeing. Like Scottie Scheffler's terrific, but he's, as you mentioned, he's very quiet. He doesn't have not a lot of histrionics when he's out on the course. Tiger had the fist pumps and all of that stuff.
Right.
I mean, he barely has any of that. He's just so laconic and laid back.
I think kind of a Gary Cooper type, if you think of the old westerns. A guy that just he sidles up there. He's Dustin Johnson also didn't say much, but he was dating a supermodel,
right?
And Wayne Gretzky's daughter.
Yeah.
And Scottie Scheffler's about to go be a dad, and he's kind of all American apple pie. And I think there are eras when that would have played better than it does right now.
Well, I think he needs somebody else, right? He needs, Tiger Woods had Phil Mickelson, right? Jack Nicklaus and Arnold Palmer and Gary Player all had each other. Like, there's no one for Scheffler to really play off of. That's a personality. Like Max Homa's a great personality, but he's a great personality on Twitter. And we don't get to know him that much.
Yeah. So to your point, let's say Scotty and Brooks Koepka go down to the wire. Let's say now last year we kind of had that. Last year you had Brooks, the live defector, and Rahm, the tour protector.
Right.
And the ratings were pretty good.
Right.
Koepka playing the role of the villain.
And it was a competitive round down the stretch. There was not, it went a ways to find out who had to win.
And then of course, now Rahm is a bit of the villain.
Right.
Rahm was kind of F-bombing his way around the golf course all week and just being generally dyspeptic and unpleasant. And now you have this guy. What's crazy is Scheffler. We see this. It was a little bit like UConn. There were a couple of games in which you think, "Dang, we got a game," and it's like, "No, we don't."
Not now.
Never mind.
Yeah, it was for a few minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got a 4-way tie at 6 under. As Scheffler is headed to the 8th tee, he's bogeyed 2 of his last 3, 2 of his last 4, and you're wondering, wow, maybe Scotty's human after all, and then he birdies 8, birdies 9, birdies 10, and then Oberg hits it in the water at 11, and you thought, here's this wonder Ken. Is he going to be the guy is he the next superstar? He might, by the way, he very well may still be.
Right.
But if he wins the Masters in his first attempt, now we got something along the lines of what you're talking about, what you and I are kicking around here. And again, this has nothing to do with whether we like Scotty, don't. I love Scotty. The guy's incredible. He's everything you'd want in a human being.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a black mark on Scotty Scheffler anywhere.
No. I mean, no, not at all. But then, you know, Scotty makes the bogey, which you can live with at 11. Homa's at 7 under right there. But as Scotty's making bogey at 11, Homa's in the bushes behind the 12.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, now it's a double for Homa. And then Scotty steps to the 12th tee with a 3-shot lead, and his pal Jordan Spieth had the same situation in 2016, so it can go away. But what does Scotty do? Very Tiger-like, plays it 40 feet left of the hole, finds the green, 2 putts, off he goes to 13, makes birdie there, and off he goes. He's a great champion, but I think to our point, you know, it's just a time right now where you almost, like when Brooks won at the PGA last year, it was like, ooh, okay, little spice here. We got a live player winning first live player to win a major.
I mean, DeChambeau is a little bit of that, but he never threatened on Sunday.
Very much, yeah. I thought DeChambeau. You know, I think a lot of people kind of rekindle their interest in DeChambeau. Let's face it, the reality is, very few people watch live.
Correct.
That doesn't mean there isn't really good golf being played over there. I mean, Joaquin Niemann shot a 59 earlier this year. These are good quality golf courses. 54 holes, yes. But these are some terrific players. It's just people hasn't caught on really.
Out of sight, out of mind.
And out of sight, out of mind. So I think people were reacquainted with Bryson, who really hadn't done much in the majors the last couple of years since joining Live. All of a sudden now he's back, and we're reminded this guy is kind of mad scientist in a way.
He literally created his own clubs. He 3D printed his own clubs and got them approved the week of the Masters.
How great is that?
That's amazing.
It's so on brand for Bryson. And I think people just were reminded. I don't even necessarily have to like him, but I'm intrigued by him.
Exactly.
And man, that's something.
It would have been nice. Again, it's. Do you think Liv and PGA? You think they're going to get back together? I mean, they're all kind of under the same umbrella now, with the PIF or whatever. Do you feel like they're gonna remerge at some point?
You know, it looked like they were headed toward an alliance, and then the tour found these other professional sports owners to invest $3 billion.
Right.
And so now PIF, I think, has kind of gone poof. I don't know that I've been saving that for you.
I didn't want to ruin the moment by saying anything, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Here's what I think needs to happen. I don't think you're going to see a merger. I don't think you're going to see. I don't think, and maybe, of course, everything changes every 5 minutes these days, but I do think that you could see an olive branch extended, and the guys who left being given, even if it were a handful of exemptions to play in PGA Tour events.
Right. Fold them back in a little bit.
Or maybe they would be given the chance to become members again and lead Live. And I don't know what that would look like, but I think, my son said something that I hadn't really thought a whole lot about, but it kind of got me wondering. He said, as great as Scotty is, and he's a huge Scotty fan, he said, when you win at Bay Hill and you don't have Rahm and you don't have Koepka and you don't have even Patrick Reed and some other guys, who are up there, Joaquin Niemann and
DJ.
Other guys up there.
DJ's a good,
DJ. It's not that you take anything away from Scotty per se, because all you can do, it's like saying, well, we played that team when they had their starting quarterback out.
Right.
You just play whatever's on the schedule. It's not that you take anything away from Scotty, but what he did beating back all the comers. There was no one, and no offense to Taylor Gooch, but there was really no one in the world who wasn't there at the Masters who is a major player in the world of golf. And Scotty beat them all, and he kind of did it, in a very methodical, tactical way. And so, again, all credit to him for winning the Players, all credit for winning the other events he's won. Man, when you do it with everybody present,
right, the full field,
all the more impressive. Yeah.
Talking to our buddy Grant Boone, who was doing a little moonlighting for CBS as he was up in hanging out on Amen Corner. All right, I'd be remiss if I let you get away without chatting about Vern Lundquist before we get out of here. Vern, who's been in the 16th Tower for seemingly decades now, has been the soundtrack of so many things. I got the pleasure of meeting him in 2006 when Northwestern State beat Iowa in the NCAA tournament. I run into him like 8 years later, and he walks up to me. And now, granted, I'm wearing a name tag that has my name on it, and I'm wearing a credential, and it's got my name on it. But I didn't see him clock my credential. He walked up and he said, "Patrick from Northwestern State," and I'm like, "Yes, sir." And we had a great chat. Like, I didn't say it like that. Yeah, I should have said that.
Okay.
But I'm very curious, Grant. Like, you've obviously gotten a chance to hang out, to talk to Vern, who's just one of the genuinely nicest human beings you'll find, and you don't see anyone that has a bad word to say about him. I'm kind of curious your experiences that you've had over the last few years with Vern.
They always say be careful, when you meet your heroes.
Sure.
Because invariably you'll be disappointed, and Vern just defies that at every turn. He is, as you say, the nicest guy. I mean, at a time in the world when everyone has a critic, and usually a legion of them, he's beloved. And part of it's because it seems like he's been this age for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
He got old early in the best kind of way, like in the best way. Even when he was a young man, he sounded old and had such a gravitas.
Yep.
And he had so many legendary calls, and you felt like, the SEC fans called him Uncle Vern.
That's right. And look, the SEC fans hate. Like, they hated
everything.
They hated Gary Danielson with a passion. But Vern was everyone's favorite. I mean, he's Uncle Vern. He's everyone's favorite.
He is. And the way that he treats people, it's genuine. He loves what he does. You mentioned what he said to you. Same with me. There's no reason for Vern Lundquist in 2004 to know me or even learn my name.
Yep.
He does, and he just acts like you matter. And I think you do to him. You do matter. I think he genuinely cares about people. I think he's one of those. Scott Van Pelt is an old soul. And I think Scott is the same way, in the sense that when you are around Scott, and it's always been this way with Vern, you feel like this person is fully aware of how fortunate they are. They worked their tails off to get there. Don't misunderstand that. But you and I know a lot of people who worked their tails off and didn't get either didn't have the ability that those guys have, or just didn't get the breaks. I think you and I probably could rattle off some names of people we think are terrific in what they do, and they just haven't gotten breaks. The business is like that. But
can I put my name on the top of the list for that one? Am I allowed to do that? To put my name on the didn't get any breaks? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah. You've only been to 1 million NCAA tournament games and buzzer beaters, and been a friend of Vern Lundquist. So you never catch any breaks.
It's tough. It's tough, my friend.
I know. But Vern is that guy. Like, Vern is the first to tell you, like, when you try to tell Vern how great he is, and he'll tell you how fortunate he is.
Right.
It's where he starts. And I think it's why We love him so much. That scene it looked like something from a Saturday Night Live skit. Tiger shaking his hand.
Yeah, the tree, shaking the tree's hand.
Out of a tree.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
It looked like something from Monty Python. The tree is shaking hands with someone.
Yeah, Wes Blankenship had the Tiger handshake Woods tweet, which I thought was fantastic.
Pretty good.
The Woods and Tiger shaking hands.
Sure.
The only guy that I can recall that I've met personally that had the same sort of ability like that was LeVar Burton. When LeVar Burton came to GeekCon in Shreveport, his ability to focus in, he learned names as soon as you said them. He would say your name too. Like, he had this uncanny ability to be locked in and focused on every person that was in front of him. And he's got, 100 people waiting to meet him, and he's locked in and focused on everyone. Vern was that same. You felt like the most important person in the world when you talked to Vern, even though compared to Vern, you're not anywhere close to the most important person in the world. I respect that. I love that. I struggle with that. That's something I'm not good at. And so I love Uncle Vern, and I'm so glad that he got to go out on top, and make kind of his way off on his own terms. That made me very happy, to be honest with you.
I'll tell you this too. The Masters is first and foremost about the Masters. They're about themselves, okay? And it's one of the reasons why they're the greatest golf event in the world. But when the chairman of Augusta National is calling you out on Wednesday to recognize you, that tells you what you've meant to that tournament, and tells you what you've meant to the sport, to the profession, to the game. That was a cool moment to have Vern recognized by Augusta National, a place that notoriously is, self-centered. In a way that you have to be the best tournament in the world.
I mean, it's all about the Masters, as it should be.
It is
when it's going on.
It is, but that moment was they gave Vern his moment. They'll do that for Nance if Nance, once Nance retires when he's 117.
Right.
But they'll do it for Nance too. But Vern, a legend, and he got the send-off he deserved.
Well, and the last time you saw Tiger Woods stop and talk to someone during the middle of a round, whether he's shooting 82 or 62, never. And he stopped for Vern.
Vern was in diapers the last time that happened.
No doubt.
It doesn't happen.
No, it never happens. Grant, I'm immediately starting a petition to put you in the 16th tower. I think it's time.
Let me check my schedule. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So far, I've gotten no signatures. I'm not even going to sign it because it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Smart. Well, you got to let's see which way the wind blows.
Right. Yeah. Now I may sign it later if we get to that magic threshold.
Here's what I think you're going to see. They're not going to. You can't replace Vern. So what you'd likely see is Frank Nobilo or Dottie slide over.
Go analyst in the 16th as opposed to play-by-play guy.
Yeah. And then they've got a couple of their folks who are not part of the Masters broadcast. People who are, let's say, for example, this week will be at Hilton Head. Mark Immelman, my partner at Amen Corner, Colton Oast, both of those guys are terrific.
Sure.
So they might add one of them as a walker. Dottie is the first person. People don't realize this maybe because it's kind of an inside baseball thing. There's never been a walker. The Masters never had somebody walking with the group until Dottie.
Which is amazing.
They would have people in towers, and they just didn't want. And again, this is Masters being the Masters. They didn't want any other traffic. If you go to the PGA Championship or if you go to the Zurich Classic, I mean, it's like the Israelites marching, through the Red Sea. It's players, it's caddies, it's coaches, it's therapists,
media members,
mental coach, media members,
print media, video media,
bearers, everything. Masters, it's player, it's caddy. That's it. Dottie came along, and she's so darn good at what she does that they let her be the first. So maybe they would slide like a Mark or a Colt onto the ground, put Dottie up in the booth, although she's so darn good on the ground. I don't know. But it's something like that. You're not going to replace Vern, nor should you even try. But thank you for the petition. Let's get it up to 1 by the end of the show.
I will do my best to try to sign that by the end of the show. Grant, you're the absolute best, my brother. Where are you off to next? Where are we catching you next?
I've got a couple of weeks at home, and then I'm back onto the LPGA Tour, and then all summer, mostly LPGA Tour. We've got, Nelly Corda, who's won 4 straight tournaments and trying to make LPGA history this week at their first major of the year. So it's good times, and it's like LPGA. You think of what's happened with Caitlin Clark.
Sure.
I think the ground is fertile for Nelly to really take off and get some traction even more than she has. So good times. I'm grateful to be out there, and it's always a delight to be with you in person, or if I have to settle for this way.
I feel like if I hit you up for a credential at one of the LPGA events, it might be a little easier than if I hit you up for a credential at the Masters. I'm just saying. It feels like it could be.
Let's see how the petition goes.
Okay.
Petition goes well, maybe I can get you into Augusta.
Hey, let me tell you, I'll be more than happy to sit up in the 16th tower and do stats for you, or run your coffee, or whatever you need, my friend. I'm available to work.
Or something stronger.
Whatever it takes, whatever gets you through it, my friend. Grant, you're the best. I love you, brother. Be good, and enjoy your time at home before you get back out on the grind.
Okay, pal.
That was Grant Boone, the voice of the Abilene Christian Wildcats, and Amen Corner in Masters coverage, the voice of the LPGA Tour on the Golf Channel, just all around bon vivant and great human being.